Hi, welcome back, all of you. I think we had a marathon run about understanding well architected framework, the six pillars, the high level view about the four tenets of a well architected framework, which is nothing but the six pillars, the different lenses, the guidance, and the tool. And then we looked at lenses at a very high level into what are these lenses. Today, we get into the actual tool, a tool which has been given to you to implement the well architected framework. Let's put that into a very simple English. Imagine you are part of a partner organization or a customer organization. You are being invited to a largest retail store to do a review of an architecture, right? So you have to end up going and meeting the customer. Imagine that application is nothing but an older chatbot application which has been created. It had used AWS Lex and it did use a lot of other components, etc. So you have an asset state of the applications well clearly defined, and you're going to go and meet the customer and you have to review the customer's project, right? So now the customer has given you that this project has been 5 years old and he wants you to review it for all the different areas of architecture. Second, and give him a report. Number two, he also want you to really look at reviewing it for a machine learning effectiveness because they built it through the SageMaker and they've used a lot of serverless in the project. They want you to also review it with for these two workloads so that they're very confident that they're following good principles. And when you show a report, you will be first showing this report into your reporting customer contact. And once he's okay, you're going to create a PowerPoint to present it to the execs, where you might be telling that this project has got this high risk, medium risk, low risk, and then also talk to them what is the prioritization they should do to implement these elements by using the AWS service. By virtue of it, you get that there could be people who are involved from the sales because there is a new services which the customer has to buy. So for a customer, it doesn't matter because what they want was a foolproof system so that they're able to really run the business smoothly. So that's a scenario, a retail house, an existing application, a lot of challenges in terms of performance, security. They're not quite aware of it's been built quite a long way. And the last but not the least, they also want to really look at workload and to see should I move into Gen AI, should I move to that, this, etc., etc. Okay. So now let's look at how you will approach this. Now imagine you are the person or I am the person who has to go to the customer place. The first thing is logistics wise, just keep it away. Thing is, how do I really go and ask the right questions to the customers? Think about it. Because I have no idea about how to really start the conversation, right? So for that's the reason that I should have a framework in which I'll be able to question the customers. Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Right? And every partner must have opened by now, as I speak, a Excel sheet to tell that I will ask these questions. Okay, that's a really good idea. But if AWS gives you those questions, why do you have to do that? Okay, so that is where the tool which we are talking about in the last two sections is very important. So how do you get to the tool? All of you have access to AWS instance. You just have to click the management governance, and then the bottom part of it, you'll find the well architected tool. Right? So this well architected tool is what you will use for this particular use case or a project. And then maybe you will generate a report, present it to the reporting manager, and then you will summarize it as an executive presentation to get approvals, and then start phase-wise deployment. You might use an SNOVO matrix to see which has got higher priority, higher risk, what you can deliver faster, etc. You do a lot of analysis and then start creating a project plan. So let's understand the well-architected tool now. You'll see at the left-hand side, there is dashboards. There is a concept of custom lenses, notifications. But let's start with defining a workload. You will see that there are two ways by which you can define the workload. There's one option called define workload. Second is still defined from review templates. So if I tell define workload, it goes for you to get started. But if I go into define from review templates, if you have created a template, you can use that template to really build your project. For now, we will keep this as a defined workload. I will put a name here as a retail review as the name. And I'll tell like I'm here for a high level review of 6 pillars, okay, and the serverless lenses to start with. Okay, and then I will add in the phase one, I will also get the phase two, I will also look at ML as a phase two. So I want first review these two for the baseline. The owner is myself, so I will put my name as the owner. And then I tell like I'm going to try to run this environment in which your work like the pre-productions. I just want to test it. The regions, I don't want to really specify. I can leave all these things default. Architectural design. Now, this is a very important segment. Now, if you really look at why you're doing the well architected framework, it assumes that you must have done some designing, is it not? Basically, when you're building this project, the customer, if you go, he'll tell, I have all my documents in the SharePoint portal, etc. Or you might be designing. So this is an architect design. Without design, how you would have created the project, how you would have executed it, right? Now today you're reviewing the design, right? So if you have something you can add for the tool, it doesn't matter. But the logical algorithm of this is like while you're building the WAF tool, you'll also have to look at think at design. And here is a retail. So I will select like if there is a retail option for me, I will select like it's a retail company. Okay. So I will pick up retail and wholesale. And you can choose a sub industry. It's a e-commerce retail. Okay. Now, why is this? A metadata which are getting built, which you might want to create a template, etc. in the future. And then you can see that there is something called trusted advisor. See, this well architected framework tool is nothing but you have these 6 pillars, different lenses. It's a very literature, philosophical, lot of huge documents, right? Now, we have taken those documents and then we have automated it on the tool. Now, there are some logically synergetic tools which can also ask the right questions on the projects. One of them is trusted advisor, because if you want to use, if you don't know what is trusted advisor, I advise that you could just go and read. But it's like a high end consultant who can really see a workload and then mark up like what are the kind of challenges, etc., which is there on the project. So trusted advisor is by which you will be able to use this. You can activate it if you want, otherwise you can leave it by default. And then there is a Jira. Jira is very important because you might be using the project for a lot of tracking, multiple versions, okay, workload issues outside the AWS console. You can use Jira. If you want, you can go to the marketplace and integrate it. You can also add the tags because you might, if you want to improve the accuracy for resource management. But end of the day, the AWS well architected tool is free because you will just use it to really review. But if you want to implement the outcomes of the tool, you will have to really get into buying the AWS services. Sometimes you might be just configuring few things, etc. So tags can also be used for configuration management. It can be used for costing, etc. We'll not get that. I'll click next here. So it tells you that these are some properties for the workflow, owner, etc. Okay, it's telling me to choose the regions. Let me choose the regions, US East, Northwest regions, so that I'm being led to the next step. Okay, now here there's a profile option. I'll skip this. Now it's the most important part. You cannot disable the well architected framework 6 pillars. You can see it from the design itself that you can tell that my project which my customer has given on this retail is perfect on the operation excellence, and just tend to ignore the certain pillars, focus on certain pillars. But you cannot ignore the well architected framework. It's by default dimmed. It means you can't disable it. Okay. On the top of this project, I want to review the serverless lens also, because that is the objective. And if you mean looking at where are the other lenses we saw, you can download for each of these lenses. There will be a file which is a JSON file from the GitHub or any place. Just search for AWS machine learning lenses. You'll get a JSON file. You can go to the custom lenses, upload them, or it will be appearing here and you can add that. Okay. And once I tell define workload, you will see that it will bring me this particular place, which is like a retail review. Okay. You can add a link to it and it gives you 4 tabs: overview, which is the first one. Second is the milestones, like what are you doing step by step. Properties, which you, if you want, you can implement. Some shares, you can do it. Suppose you're working with 3 4 people, you can also share that. Look, one very important thing is once you tell start reviewing, it will produce you all the questions which is important. Now imagine you saw, all of you saw these documents, right? When you downloaded it, there are a lot of these documents. Now you can see those documents available has 50. If you just add this like 11 20 to 34 39 45, around 58 questions across the 6 pillars is what you will drive as a review for the person. Imagine this, you take a persona of going to the customer, to the retail house. You will go and click and see, the first thing you will see that there's a question asked. How do you determine what your priorities are? Now, if you don't know what that question means, you have to read the PDF. Imagine, first step is to read the 1,000-page document as much as possible. You will automate that document by coming into the tool. And when you're sitting before the customer, you'll ask, how do you determine what your priorities are? Okay. And then for that particular question, you'll ask, how will you evaluate customer needs? Suppose you don't know, I'm really dumb, I really don't know what this is. Just click the info. It will just tell you what that info is all about. Or you can click this info, it will tell you what is the meaning of the external customer needs. You can read. Okay. And if you see that this question, how do you determine, they're absolutely brilliant, you can just tell that the question does not apply. Okay, it means you don't have to go through all the questions, and you can tell that it's not, I'm not going to ask this question because it's there's some constraint, some business priority, it is out of scope. Or you can write others, whatever you want. Imagine you want it, then you will write, pick up this question, and you will come down, you will mark like no, evaluate customer needs is basically not applicable because it's out of scope. And then I can pick up this, I will tell that I will provide additional details. Like this, one by one, all these questions you will be able to go through with the customers. Imagine you're taking a literature which is there in 1,000 pages, and you are going through. Now this is the really the best way to become an AS architect, because what has happened here is, if you separate the design diagrams, if you separate the reusability from the solution library or any of the reusable, the prescriptive guidance, you're left out with reviewing the project for the non-functional sites. Now, here they are trying to restrict you initially with this 58 questions on the 6 pillars. If you are mastering all these questions one by one, you should be absolutely on bang as the best architect, because you know exactly how to really look at it. The beauty of this tool is not about you trying to ask questions like a pre-sales or a solutioning person with customers and generating a report. It also gives you the solution. For example, if I click this particular question, at the right hand side, it will also tell you how will I do this particular element. For example, if I click this info, it will just tell you how will I be able to implement. Let's take an example which will help you to understand. For example, if I have to review for security and you want to detect and investigate security events is your question. So moment you click that, you will see that it is going to give you the way by which you implement that particular question. So imagine there are 3 parts which is getting automated with the well architected framework tool. One, I might have no clue about what questions to ask my customers. Okay, so this gives you a set of standard questions. It will give you standard 58 questions on the 6 pillars. Then for every lenses, it gives you additional questions. Just keep asking the questions. Imagine the question's answer is yes, you're very happy. If it's no, then you want to know how to get new services queue implementation. It might translate into a dollar, it may translate into a sales, it might translate into new best practices. But just to give an example, for every question, there is a question, there is a set of ways by which you ask it. You document this in a tool also like this. And then if the customer is not doing this, you will see how to implement. So this is three parts in the tool: question, detailing the question to really get to the bottom, telling, like, for example, how do you detect, investigate, how are you doing service and application logging, how you are capturing the logs, how you initiating remediation, how you are correlating. All the questions maps to security 4. So if the customer is doing all of them, wonderful. If the customer doesn't want to do this because there's of no reason, put out of scope, but document everything. Ask all the 58 things and be sure that it is being followed, not followed, out of scope, business scope. Wherever it is not there, go to the right hand side. You hire a security expert or operation expert, performance expert based on the what you want to do. Start creating an implementation plan. Okay. So this is the three different segments of the tool. The most important thing is, suppose you have completed the entire activity. Okay. Now I go to the dashboard. I will be able to generate the report. Imagine I've done everything. It will generate a report for me, and after I generate the report, I'll be able to open this report, which will tell me that this particular documentation has got, these are the pillars I reviewed. What are the high risk item? What are them? Imagine you spend 3 days at the customer place reviewing this completely. You exactly know what are the high risk issues, medium risk issue, low risk, and then you can make this into a PowerPoint. And for high risk issue, you can tell you use config, you use this, you use that, and then create a delivery plan. And then there can be some business for the AWS or the partner, and for a customer, he's able to really get to the next step. And then there is a continuous way to really tell that for this project, what are the ways you should really plan for the next 2 years, 3 years broadly. Okay. This is a super tool. I would recommend that if you don't know about this tool, you should just practice it. I'll give you a very easy way. When you go to the workshop.aws, this is a set of workshops which are available from AWS for free. And there is a well architect. I don't want to repeat what is already available. There are a lot of courses in Udemy on solution architect exams, professional, associate. You can use those courses. You can go to the workshops. There are some, but nobody is connecting all these concepts. What is that required overall, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. So if you type here well architected, you'll see that there is a. Okay, let me just put well architected. There's a migrate the well architected. You see some tools here. If it will get started, you will see that there are a lot of these steps which is given here on how do I use the well architected tool. And there is also something on the tool. I'm just trying to recollect that there was some kind of thing on the tool, right? Let me see whether there is a workshop for the well architected framework tool. Okay, I'll figure it out that and put it on the link. But why I was trying to tell that you should use the WAF tool is that this well architected framework tool, which is there, which can help you to really build this entire pipeline of telling, like, you want to do a review, you want to understand what are the steps to do the review, and then you ask the right questions and you document it, you generate a report. You also are aware that in case the customer is not doing, how to implement, then you categorize that into a delivery plan and you drive the story. Okay. And that's how this is so useful. There is one workshop available on the well architected tool. In case you don't get hold of it, read the documentation of this particular well architected. You should practice all these things. There's also a concept of custom lenses where you can create a custom lenses. The only thing you do is you have to go to the GitHub. For example, I just showed you there are a lot of these GitHubs. You'll find all this JSON file. Upload the JSON file here. It'll appear here, and then you can use those questions. In case you want to create your set of questions for a project, what you're trying to do is to streamline and bring everything consistently into this tool. Because this is the AWS standardized tool, you should use this everywhere you want to really look at it. Okay. There's also something called review template, which has come. If you want, you can create it. Workloads, which you can do, which we just saw. Some notifications you can create. Some settings, which you can also really look at for organizations, discovery, etc. Okay, see you in the next thing. Hope you understood a very high level what the tool does. Hopefully the workshops was not available. I'll just figure out if it is available still for everybody, because I used to run that workshops when I used to work with AWS. So in case it's not available, we'll see how you can get alternate resource in the resource sections. Thank you for being in the lesson. See you in the next lessons.